The wrench slipped from my greasy fingers as I heard my wife's laughter echo through our kitchen window. Not the polite chuckle she reserved for my jokes, but the breathless, intimate giggle I hadn't heard in months. I froze under the hood of my 20-year-old sedan, engine oil dripping onto the cracked driveway as Talia's voice carried into the night air. "Derek, you're terrible," she whispered into her phone, thinking I couldn't hear. "Simon's outside fixing that piece of junk again. He has no idea." My name is Simon Fowler, and I'm 38 years old. I work as a senior risk assessor for Midwest Insurance Consortium, spending my days calculating the probability of disaster. Ironic, considering I completely missed the catastrophe brewing in my own home. I wiped my hands on an old rag and crept closer to the window, my heart hammering against my ribs. Through the gap in the curtains, I could see Talia pacing our kitchen, her auburn hair catching the overhead light as she twisted the phone cord around her manicured fingers. "I know, baby," she continued, her voice dropping to that sultry tone she used to reserve for me. "Just a few more weeks, and I'll have everything sorted. The papers are ready." Papers? What papers? Derek Voss. I knew that name. Head of procurement at Talia's tech manufacturing company, TechFlow Industries. I'd met him at their Christmas party last year, all white teeth and firm handshakes, the kind of guy who called everyone buddy, and wore cologne that cost more than my monthly car payment. "He's always with that assistant of his anyway," Talia laughed again, and the sound cut through me like broken glass. "Maya this, Maya that. It'll be easy to make everyone believe he's the cheater." Maya Crandall was my junior analyst, a brilliant 31-year-old who helped me navigate the increasingly digital world of risk assessment. She was also married to a pediatric nurse and had never so much as looked at me sideways. But apparently, in Talia's twisted narrative, Maya was my secret affair. I backed away from the window, my mind reeling. 5 years of marriage, and this was how it ended, with lies and manipulation while I changed my oil in the driveway like some clueless sitcom husband? Nothing like hearing your wife plan your destruction while you're elbow-deep in grease and regret, I muttered to myself, a habit I'd developed during my amateur boxing days. Coach Carmine always said talking to yourself kept your head clear during a fight. The next morning arrived with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. I was sitting at our kitchen table, reading insurance reports and drinking coffee from my favorite mug, a chipped ceramic thing that said, "World's Okayest Husband." The irony wasn't lost on me. Talia stormed into the kitchen wearing her power suit, the navy blue one she wore when she meant business. Her heels clicked against our tile floor like a countdown timer. "We need to talk," she announced, her voice cold enough to freeze hell. I looked up from my reports, keeping my expression neutral. "Good morning to you too, sweetheart." She slammed a manila folder onto the table so hard my coffee mug jumped. "Cut the act, Simon. I know what you've been doing." "Eating breakfast and reviewing actuarial tables?" I asked, taking another sip of coffee. "Guilty as charged." "You're always with her," Talia spat, her green eyes flashing with manufactured anger. "Maya this, Maya that. Working late, weekend calls, business trips. Do you think I'm stupid?" I set down my mug carefully, buying myself time to think. "Talia, Maya is my analyst. We work together because that's our job. There's nothing—" "Liar!" she screamed, her composure cracking like ice on a spring lake. "I've seen the way you look at her, the way you light up when she calls. You think I don't notice, but I notice everything. She was good, I had to give her that. The Wounded Wife Act was Oscar-worthy. If I hadn't heard her giggling with Derek last night, I might have actually felt guilty." "I've been faithful to you for 5 years," I said quietly, standing up slowly. "But it sounds like you've already made up your mind about this." Talia's smile was sharp enough to cut diamonds. "I want a divorce, Simon. And since you've been cheating, I'll be taking everything. The house, the cars, the savings accounts, everything." She opened the manila folder and spread divorce papers across the table like a dealer laying out cards. "My lawyer says adultery voids our prenup. You'll be lucky to walk away with your clothes." I stared at the papers, my name already typed in neat legal font. She'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months. While I'd been working late to pay for her designer handbags and spa weekends, she'd been orchestrating my destruction. "Sign them," she demanded, producing a pen from her purse. "Make this easy on both of us." I picked up the papers, scanning the legal language. She wanted everything, just like she'd promised Derek. Alimony, the house, our joint savings, even my vintage baseball card collection. "I need time to review these with a lawyer," I said finally. Talia's laugh was like breaking glass. "You can't afford a lawyer, Simon, not after I'm done with you. Everyone will know what kind of man you really are. A cheater, a liar, a pathetic middle-aged loser who threw away his marriage for some young assistant." She leaned across the table, her perfume mixing with the smell of my cooling coffee. "Sign the papers, or I'll make sure this gets very ugly for you, and for Maya." The threat hung in the air like smoke. She was going to destroy an innocent woman's reputation to cover her own crimes. That's when I felt something shift inside me, like tumblers falling into place in a lock. "I'll think about it," I said, folding the papers neatly. "Don't think too long," Talia warned, grabbing her purse. "Derek's picking me up for a work conference in Chicago. We'll be back Sunday night. I want your answer then." Derek. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. After she left, I sat in the sudden silence of our kitchen, staring at the divorce papers. The house felt different now, like a crime scene waiting to be discovered. I pulled out my phone and called in sick to work, then spent the next hour walking through our home with fresh eyes. In Talia's jewelry box, hidden behind her expensive earrings, I found a receipt from the Riverside Motel. Room 247, charged to a credit card I didn't recognize. The date was last Tuesday, when she'd claimed to be at a women's leadership seminar. Her laptop was password protected, but Talia had always been predictable. Her password was TechFlow2023, the same one she used for everything. Her email revealed months of correspondence with Derek, planning their affair with the precision of a military operation. The worst part wasn't the explicit messages or the photos they'd exchanged. It was the casual way they discussed destroying me. I was just an obstacle to be removed, a problem to be solved with lies and legal manipulation. If only sarcasm paid the bills, I'd be a billionaire, I told my reflection in the bathroom mirror. But sarcasm wouldn't save me from what Talia had planned. I needed something more substantial. I spent the rest of the day gathering evidence. Bank statements showing mysterious charges to restaurants I'd never been to. Credit card bills for hotels during her supposed business trips. Text messages between Talia and her best friend, Jenna Pike, TechFlow's legal counsel, discussing the best way to handle the Simon problem. Jenna Pike. Another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. She'd been Talia's college roommate and closest confidant, the one who'd encouraged Talia to reach for more in life. Apparently, more didn't include a blue-collar husband who fixed his own car. By evening, I had enough evidence to prove Talia's infidelity, but that wasn't enough. She had money, connections, and a plan. I had integrity and a 20-year-old sedan. Time to even the odds. Friday morning found me at Carmine's boxing gym, a converted warehouse that smelled like sweat, leather, and honest work. Don Coach Carmine had been training fighters for 40 years, and his gym was where I'd learned to channel my anger into something productive. "You look like hell, Simon," Coach observed as I wrapped my hands for the heavy bag. He was 60-something, built like a fire hydrant, with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Feel like it too," I admitted, throwing a tentative jab. The impact sent vibrations up my arm, reminding me of muscles I hadn't used in months. "Woman troubles?" Coach asked, settling onto a nearby bench. I threw a combination, jab, cross, hook, each punch carrying more force than the last. "My wife wants a divorce, says I'm cheating with my assistant." "Are you?" "No." Another combination, harder this time. "But she is. Cheating, I mean. With her coworker." Coach nodded like this was the most natural thing in the world. "So what are you going to do about it?" I paused, breathing hard. "I don't know. She's got lawyers, money, connections. I'm just a guy who assesses insurance risks." "You know what your problem is, Simon?" Coach stood up, his joints creaking like old floorboards. "You think this is about being fair, but life ain't fair. Life's about who wants it more." He pointed to a faded poster on the wall showing a young Muhammad Ali. "You think Ali won fights by being fair? Hell no. He won by being smarter, faster, and more determined than the other guy. Your wife wants to play dirty? Then you better learn the rules of a dirty fight." The gym door chimed, and I looked over to see Derek Voss walking in like he owned the place. He was wearing expensive workout gear that had probably never seen actual sweat, and his smile was as fake as a $3 bill. "Simon," he called out, approaching with his arms spread wide. "Fancy meeting you here, buddy." Coach raised an eyebrow but said nothing, settling back onto his bench to watch the show. "Derek," I replied, unwrapping my hands slowly. "Didn't know you boxed." "Oh, I don't," he laughed, that practiced corporate laugh that meant nothing. "I'm more of a racquetball guy. But Talia mentioned you came here, and I thought I'd check it out. You know, guy bonding and all that." The audacity was breathtaking. He was sleeping with my wife and had the balls to show up at my gym talking about guy bonding. "How do you know where I work out?" I asked, keeping my voice level. Derek's smile flickered for just a moment. "Talia mentioned it. She worries about you, you know. Says you've been stressed lately." "I bet she does," I muttered. "Actually, that's kind of why I'm here," Derek continued, his tone shifting to something that might have been concern if you didn't know better. "Talia's worried about your friendship with that assistant of yours. Maya, right?" Coach made a small sound that might have been a snort. What about Maya? I asked. Derek held up his hands in a gesture of peace. Hey, I'm not judging, buddy. We all have needs. But Talia's a good woman, and she doesn't deserve to be humiliated. Maybe it's time to come clean, you know? Make this easier on everyone. The gym went quiet, except for the sound of someone hitting a speed bag in the corner. Derek was actually trying to get me to confess to an affair that didn't exist while he was sleeping with my wife. The sheer gall of it was almost impressive. Derek, I said slowly, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Has there? His smile turned predatory. Because Talia showed me some pretty interesting text messages between you and Maya. Working late, weekend calls, private meetings. Looks pretty cozy from where I'm standing. He was lying, of course. Maya and I communicated through official company channels, and our text messages were about as romantic as insurance actuarial tables. But Derek was building a narrative, just like Talia. You want to know what I think? I stepped closer, close enough to smell his expensive cologne. I think you're projecting. Derek's smile faltered. What's that supposed to mean? It means guilty people always assume everyone else is guilty too. The temperature in the gym seemed to drop 10 degrees. Derek's corporate mask slipped, revealing something uglier underneath. Careful, Simon, he said quietly. You're making accusations you can't back up. Am I? Coach cleared his throat. Boys, if you're going to settle this, let's do it properly. Simon, you still remember how to spar? Derek looked confused. Spar? Boxing, Coach explained patiently. You know, like in the movies. Gloves, mouthguards, 3 rounds. Winner takes all. Oh, I don't think... Derek started. Scared? I asked. Derek's jaw tightened. His type always had an ego problem, and I just poked it with a sharp stick. Fine, he said. But just friendly sparring, right? Nothing serious. Coach's grin was absolutely wicked. Of course, nothing serious at all. 20 minutes later, we were in the ring. Derek had borrowed gear that didn't quite fit, making him look like a kid playing dress-up. I'd forgotten how good it felt to lace up boxing gloves, the familiar weight and balance bringing back muscle memory from my amateur days. Remember, Coach called from ringside, this is just sparring. Light contact, no hard shots to the head. Derek nodded eagerly, bouncing on his toes like he'd seen in movies. He threw a few shadow punches that looked impressive but had no real technique behind them. The bell rang, and we touched gloves. Derek came out swinging, throwing wild haymakers that would have been devastating if they'd connected. But boxing isn't about throwing hard punches, it's about throwing the right punches at the right time. I slipped his first swing, stepped inside his guard, and delivered a body shot just below his ribs. It was perfectly legal, well within the bounds of friendly sparring, but it carried all the frustration and anger I'd been bottling up for days. Derek's eyes went wide, and he doubled over, gasping like a fish out of water. The expensive workout gear couldn't protect him from the reality of getting hit by someone who actually knew how to throw a punch. You okay, buddy? I asked, circling him slowly. He nodded, trying to catch his breath, and threw another wild swing. I ducked under it and landed another body shot, this one to his solar plexus. Derek dropped to one knee, his face turning an interesting shade of green. That's enough, Coach called, climbing into the ring. Derek, you need some water? Derek nodded weakly, pulling off his gloves with shaking hands. He looked at me with something that might have been respect, or might have been fear. Good sparring session, I said, offering him my glove to shake. He stared at it for a moment, then shook it briefly. Yeah, good session. As Derek stumbled toward the water fountain, Coach leaned over to me. Feel better? He asked. A little, I admitted. Good. But remember what I said about wanting it more. That pretty boy's going to go crying to your wife, and she's going to come at you twice as hard. You better be ready. Coach was right, of course. By the time I got home that evening, Talia was waiting in our living room with the fury of a woman whose plans had been disrupted. What the hell did you do to Derek? She demanded before I'd even closed the front door. We sparred at the gym, I said, hanging up my jacket. He wanted to try boxing. He could barely walk when he got to the office. His ribs are bruised and he can hardly breathe. I shrugged. Boxing's a contact sport. Maybe racquetball is more his speed. Talia's eyes flashed dangerously. This isn't a game, Simon. Derek could press charges for assault. For a consensual sparring match at a boxing gym with witnesses and proper equipment? I laughed. Good luck with that. She stood up, her hands clenched into fists. You think you're so clever, don't you? Well, let me tell you something. I've been documenting your erratic behavior for months. The late nights, the mysterious phone calls, the way you've been treating me. When this goes to court, everyone will see what kind of man you really are. What kind of man am I, Talia? A jealous, violent loser who can't handle the fact that his wife is more successful than he'll ever be. The words hung between us like a challenge. This was it, the moment when our marriage officially died, not with tears or regret, but with calculated cruelty designed to inflict maximum damage. You know what? I said finally. You're right, I can't handle it. Talia blinked, clearly not expecting me to agree. I can't handle being married to someone who lies, cheats, and schemes. I can't handle pretending to love someone who's planning to destroy me. And I definitely can't handle watching you parade your boyfriend around like some kind of trophy while you accuse me of the same thing. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Room 247, Riverside Motel. Last Tuesday, when you were supposedly at that leadership seminar. Talia went very still. Derek's credit card, the one he thinks I don't know about. Dinner at Romano's last Friday when I was working late. The Chicago conference that doesn't exist. Her face had gone pale, but she rallied quickly. You've been spying on me. I've been protecting myself, I corrected. And it's a good thing, because you and your friend Jenna have been planning to take me for everything I'm worth. Prove it, she challenged. I smiled, and for the first time in days, it felt genuine. Careful what you wish for, sweetheart. You might just get it. Saturday morning brought an unexpected visitor. I was in my garage, organizing tools and trying to clear my head, when Maya Crandall knocked on my open door. Simon, I hope you don't mind me stopping by. I tried calling, but your phone went straight to voicemail. Maya looked nervous, clutching her purse like a lifeline. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater, a far cry from her usual professional attire. Maya, what are you doing here? How did you even get my address? From the company directory, she said quietly. Simon, we need to talk. Something's happening at work, and I think it involves both of us. I set down my wrench and gestured to a couple of folding chairs. What kind of something? Maya sat down carefully, choosing her words. Yesterday afternoon, Jenna Pike from TechFlow called our HR department. She said there were rumors about inappropriate conduct between employees of our companies. My blood ran cold. What kind of rumors? The kind that end careers, Maya said. She didn't mention names, but she made it very clear that she was talking about you and me. She said TechFlow was concerned about potential conflicts of interest in our joint projects. I felt the walls closing in. Talia and Jenna weren't just planning to destroy my marriage. They were going after our livelihoods, too. Maya, I need you to know that I've never... I know, she interrupted. Simon, you're one of the most professional people I've ever worked with. But someone's spreading lies, and they're doing it very carefully. She pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot. This morning, I got a friend request on social media from someone claiming to be a former colleague. When I accepted, they immediately started asking about our working relationship. Wanted to know if we ever worked alone together, if you'd ever made inappropriate comments, if there were any signs of favoritism. Did you recognize the profile? It was fake, stock photo, minimal information, created last week. But whoever's behind it knows details about our projects that only someone with inside access would know. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache building. This is escalating fast. There's more, Maya said. My husband got a call at the hospital yesterday, someone claiming to be from a law firm, asking about our marriage, whether I'd mentioned any problems at work, if I'd been working unusual hours lately. Jesus, Maya, I'm sorry you're getting dragged into this. Don't apologize, she said firmly. Just tell me what's really going on. Because this isn't random workplace gossip. Someone's building a case. I told her everything. Talia's affair, the divorce papers, Derek's visit to the gym, the evidence I'd found. Maya listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with each revelation. So they're not just trying to destroy your marriage, she said when I finished. They're trying to destroy both our careers to cover their own tracks. Looks that way. Maya was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. Simon, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Okay. Are you planning to fight back? The question hung in the air between us. Maya was asking if I was going to roll over and let Talia and her conspirators win, or if I was going to make this a war. Yes, I said. I am. She nodded slowly. Good. Because I've been thinking about this all night, and I have some ideas. Before Maya could elaborate, my phone rang. The caller ID showed my friend Rick Patterson's name. Rick, I answered. What's up? Simon, we need to talk. Rick's voice was tight with anger. Are you at home? Yeah, why? I'm coming over, and I'm bringing Tom and Jennifer with me. The line went dead. Rick, Tom Chen, and Jennifer Walsh were my closest friends, people I'd known for years, who'd been at my wedding, who'd shared countless dinners and game nights with Talia and me. Trouble? Maya asked. About to be, I said. You should probably go. I'm not going anywhere, Maya said firmly. If they're here to confront you about me, then I should be here to defend myself. 20 minutes later, Rick's SUV pulled into my driveway. Rick Patterson was a construction foreman, built like a linebacker and about as subtle. Tom Chen worked in IT for the city government, quiet and analytical. Jennifer Walsh was a nurse practitioner who'd known Talia since college. They walked up my driveway like a delegation, their faces grim. Simon, Rick said without preamble, what the hell is wrong with you? Good morning to you too, Rick. Come on in. They filed into my living room, their eyes immediately going to Maya. I could see the wheels turning in their heads, connecting dots that weren't actually connected. You must be Maya, Jennifer said, her voice cold enough to freeze water. I am, Maya replied, standing up straight. And you must be the friends who've already made up their minds without hearing both sides of the story. Both sides? Tom laughed bitterly. Simon, Talia called us last night crying. She told us everything. Everything? I asked. Define everything. Rick stepped forward, his hands clenched into fists. The affair, the lies, the way you've been gaslighting her for months. And then yesterday, you assault her coworker at some gym? I sparred with Derek at a boxing gym, with proper equipment and supervision. Hardly assault. That's not how Derek tells it, Jennifer said. He says you lured him there and attacked him. Maya made a disgusted sound. And you believed that? Why wouldn't we? Jennifer shot back. We've known Talia for years. She's never lied to us. First time for everything, I muttered. Tom pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot. Talia sent us this. It's a text conversation between you and Maya. I looked at the screen and felt my stomach drop. It showed a conversation that looked like it was between Maya and me, discussing meeting at a hotel, talking about how much we meant to each other, planning to leave our respective spouses. That's fake, Maya said immediately. I never sent those messages. Of course you'd say that, Rick sneered. Look at the timestamps, Maya continued. Half of these messages were supposedly sent when I was in a staff meeting with 12 other people. The other half were sent when Simon was on a conference call that I can prove he was on. Tom frowned, looking more closely at his phone. The metadata could have been altered. Could have been, Maya agreed, but it wasn't. This is a fabrication, and not a very good one. Jennifer wasn't buying it. Talia has no reason to lie about this. Doesn't she? I asked. Tell me, did Talia mention that she's been having an affair with Derek Voss for the past 6 months? That's ridiculous, Jennifer said. Talia would never... Room 247, Riverside Motel, I interrupted. Credit card receipts, hotel records, text messages, photos. I have it all. Rick shook his head. Even if that were true, which I doubt, it doesn't excuse what you've done. What exactly have I done, Rick? Cheated on your wife with your assistant. I've never touched Maya inappropriately. I've never sent her personal messages. I've never met her outside of work except for today, when she came here to warn me that someone was spreading lies about us. Prove it, Tom challenged. I looked at Maya, who nodded. Show them our actual text message history. Show them our email communications. Everything goes through official company channels. Everything's documented. Everything's professional. I pulled out my phone and handed it to Tom. Go ahead. Check everything. My call logs, my text messages, my emails. Maya, you too. Maya handed over her phone without hesitation. Tom and Rick huddled over the phones while Jennifer watched with growing uncertainty. This doesn't prove anything, Rick said after several minutes. You could have deleted the incriminating stuff. From both phones? From the company servers? From the phone company records? Maya shook her head. You're reaching. Besides, I added, if I were going to have an affair, do you really think I'd be stupid enough to leave evidence lying around when my wife is a human resources director? Tom was still scrolling through my phone, his frown deepening. Simon, when was the last time you and Talia had dinner at Romano's? Romano's? We've never been there. Too expensive. Tom showed me a photo on my phone, except it wasn't from my phone. It was a screenshot that someone had sent to me. This shows Talia and Derek having dinner there last Friday night. Rick grabbed the phone and stared at the image. Where did you get this? Someone sent it to me anonymously, I said. Probably someone who recognized them and thought I should know. Jennifer was looking pale. That looks like Derek. It is Derek, I confirmed. Your friend Talia has been lying to you, just like she's been lying to me. The room went quiet, except for the sound of traffic outside. I could see doubt creeping into my friends' faces, but they weren't ready to admit they'd been wrong. Even if Talia made mistakes, Jennifer said finally, that doesn't give you the right to have an affair. I'm not having an affair, I snapped. How many times do I have to say it? Then explain the hotel receipts, Rick demanded. What hotel receipts? Tom showed me another screenshot. Talia found these in your jacket pocket. 3 different hotels, 3 different dates, all charged to your credit card. I looked at the receipts and felt a chill run down my spine. They were definitely from my credit card, but I'd never been to any of those hotels. These are fake, I said. The credit card charges are real, Tom pointed out. Maya leaned over to look at the receipts. Simon, what's the credit card number on these? I read off the number, and Maya's eyes widened. That's not your card number. I've seen you use your card dozens of times for business expenses. The last 4 digits are different. She was right. The receipts showed a card ending in 7834, but my card ended in 2156. Someone cloned your card, Maya said. Or more likely, they created fake receipts using a similar card number. Rick was looking increasingly uncomfortable. Why would Talia go to all this trouble? Because she's planning to take everything I own in the divorce, I said, and she needs to prove adultery to void our prenuptial agreement. Jennifer sat down heavily on my couch. This is insane. Talia couldn't. She's not the person you think she is, I said gently. None of us are, apparently. Tom was still examining the evidence on both phones. Simon, I owe you an apology. This is clearly a setup. We all do, Rick said reluctantly. Jesus, Simon, I'm sorry. We should have listened to your side first. But Jennifer wasn't ready to give up. Even if these specific pieces of evidence are fake, that doesn't mean nothing happened. Maybe Talia just couldn't prove what she knew was true. Maya stood up, her patience finally exhausted. You know what? I've had enough of this. Jennifer, right? You're a nurse. You're supposed to be smart, analytical, evidence-based, but you're so determined to believe your friend that you're ignoring facts right in front of your face. I'm not ignoring anything. Yes, you are. You're ignoring the fake text messages with impossible timestamps. You're ignoring the cloned credit card receipts. You're ignoring the photo evidence of Talia's actual affair. You're ignoring the fact that Simon and I have never been alone together outside of work until today. Jennifer's face flushed red. I'm trying to be fair. No, you're trying to protect your friend, even when she's clearly in the wrong. And you know what? That makes you complicit in what she's doing to Simon. The words hit like a slap. Jennifer stood up abruptly, her eyes flashing with anger. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth? Point out that you're helping someone destroy an innocent man's life because you can't admit your friend is a liar and a cheat? Rick stepped between them. Okay, let's all calm down. No, Maya continued on a roll now. Let's not calm down. Let's talk about what's really happening here. Talia is having an affair, so she's accusing Simon of having an affair. She's planning to steal everything he owns, so she's manufacturing evidence to justify it. And her friends are helping her do it because they're too loyal or too stupid to see what's right in front of them. Jennifer's hands were shaking with rage. You have no right to talk to me like that. You don't even know us. I know enough, Maya shot back. I know that you came here ready to attack Simon without giving him a chance to defend himself. I know that you've already decided he's guilty, regardless of evidence. And I know that you care more about protecting your friend's reputation than you do about the truth. That's enough, Tom said firmly. Maya, I understand you're angry, but nothing. You people came here like a lynch mob, ready to destroy a good man based on lies and fabricated evidence. The only reason you're backing down now is because the evidence is so obviously fake that even you can't ignore it. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Simon, I'll be in touch about the work situation. As for the rest of you, maybe next time try asking questions before you start throwing accusations. The door slammed behind her, leaving the 4 of us in uncomfortable silence. Well, Rick said finally, she's got a point. Jennifer was still fuming. She had no right. Oh, she had every right, I interrupted. Her career is being threatened because of lies my wife is spreading. Her marriage is being attacked by strangers making anonymous phone calls. She's being dragged into a mess she didn't create, and you came here ready to crucify both of us without even listening to our side. Tom nodded slowly. Simon's right. We screwed up. I need to think about this, Jennifer said, heading for the door. This is all too much. After they left, I sat in my living room staring at the fake evidence Talia had created. The level of planning and manipulation was staggering. She hadn't just decided to have an affair, she'd orchestrated an entire campaign to destroy me. My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Enjoying your friend's visit? Wait until you see what happens next. T. Talia had been watching. She knew my friends had come over, probably knew Maya had been here too. She was treating this like a chess game, moving pieces around the board while I scrambled to keep up. But chess was a game for 2 players, and I was tired of playing defense. Time to start making my own moves. Sunday morning arrived gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I'd spent most of Saturday night planning my next moves, and by dawn I had a strategy that would have made Coach Carmine proud. First stop, Midwest Insurance Consortium's downtown office. As a senior risk assessor, I had access to databases that most people didn't even know existed. Credit monitoring services, financial background checks, corporate filing searches, all the tools I used to investigate insurance fraud. Time to turn those tools on my wife. I settled into my office with a large coffee and started digging. Within an hour, I'd uncovered a financial trail that made my blood boil. Derek Voss had been funneling money through a shell company called Midwest Consulting Solutions. The company existed only on paper, with a registered address that turned out to be a UPS store mailbox. Over the past 6 months, TechFlow Industries had paid this fake company over $200,000 for procurement consulting services. The payments were authorized by Talia's department and approved by Derek's. They were stealing from TechFlow Industries and using the money to fund their affair. My phone rang, interrupting my investigation. Maya's name appeared on the caller ID. "Simon, we have a problem," she said without preamble. "I just got a call from my supervisor. Someone filed a formal complaint about our working relationship." "What kind of complaint?" "Intimate harassment. The complaint alleges that you've been making unwelcome advances, that I've been going along with it to protect my job, and that our company has been ignoring the situation." I felt the room spin slightly. "Maya, please tell me you didn't—" "Of course I didn't file it," she snapped. "Someone else did, claiming to be a concerned colleague who witnessed inappropriate behavior." "Jenna Pike," I said immediately. "That's what I'm thinking. The complaint is very specific about dates and times, but all the alleged incidents happened when I can prove I was somewhere else." "Can you fight it?" "I'm going to try, but Simon, this is serious. If the company decides to investigate, both our careers are over, regardless of what they find. The suspicion alone will follow us forever." I stared at my computer screen, at the evidence of Talia and Derek's financial crimes. "Maya, what if I told you I found something that could end this whole thing?" "What kind of something?" I explained what I'd discovered about Midwest Consulting Solutions. Maya was quiet for a long moment. "Simon, that's embezzlement. Maybe fraud. If you're right, Derek could go to prison. And Talia could lose her job, her professional certification, everything. You need to be very careful about how you handle this," Maya warned. "If you go to the authorities with incomplete evidence, they could destroy the rest and disappear. You need to have everything locked down before you make a move." She was right, of course. I needed more than just financial records. I needed communications, documentation, proof of intent. "I have an idea," I said, "but you're not going to like it. Try me. I need to get into Talia's office computer, her email, her files, everything. Simon, that's illegal? Probably. But so is embezzling $200,000 from your employer." Maya sighed. "How are you planning to accomplish this miracle of corporate espionage?" "Talia's at her conference with Derek until tonight. Her office building has weekend security, but I know the cleaning crew schedule. And I know her passwords." "This is insane." "This is war," I corrected. "And I'm tired of losing." 3 hours later, I was walking through the TechFlow Industries lobby, wearing a borrowed janitor's uniform and carrying a clipboard. The weekend security guard barely looked up from his newspaper as I badged in using credentials Maya had acquired from a friend in facilities management. TechFlow's offices occupied 3 floors of a downtown high-rise. Talia's office was on the 15th floor, corner office with a view of the river. I'd been there exactly once, for a company Christmas party where she'd introduced me as my husband, the insurance guy. Her computer was password protected, but like I'd suspected, she was still using TechFlow 2023. Some people never learned. What I found in her email files was even worse than I'd imagined. Talia and Derek hadn't just been stealing money, they'd been planning to pin it on other employees. There were draft emails discussing how to make it look like the accounting department had made errors, how to implicate innocent coworkers in the scheme. But the real treasure was in her personal folder. Months of correspondence with Jenna Pike, planning my destruction with surgical precision. Phase 1. Establish pattern of suspicious behavior, read one email. Derek will start showing up at Simon's usual places, creating witnesses who can testify to coincidental meetings. Phase 2. Create evidence of affair with assistant, fake text messages, doctored photos if necessary, hotel receipts using cloned credit card. Phase 3, turn his friends against him. Jennifer is already suspicious about Maya. Rick will believe anything if it's presented right. Phase 4, file harassment complaint to destroy both their careers. Even if nothing sticks, the suspicion will ruin them professionally. I screenshot everything, uploading the files to a secure cloud storage account as I went. The evidence was damning, but I needed more. I needed something that would destroy all 3 of them simultaneously. That's when I found the folder labeled Insurance Fraud. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were detailed plans to stage an accident, file false insurance claims, and split the proceeds. They'd researched my company's claim procedures, identified vulnerabilities in our investigation process, even selected the type of accident that would be hardest to disprove. They weren't just planning to steal from TechFlow and destroy my life. They were planning to commit insurance fraud against my own company, using my insider knowledge to maximize their payout. I was still downloading files when I heard footsteps in the hallway. My blood turned to ice as I recognized Talia's laugh, followed by Derek's voice. "Should check my email before we head home," Derek was saying. "The Wilson contract might have come through." They were supposed to be in Chicago until tonight. I had maybe 30 seconds before they reached the office area. I quickly closed all the windows on Talia's computer, grabbed my cleaning supplies, and stepped into the hallway just as they rounded the corner. "Oh!" Talia stopped short, surprised to see a janitor. "I didn't realize anyone was cleaning today." I kept my head down, mumbling something about weekend maintenance, and pushed my cart past them toward the elevator. My heart was hammering so hard I was sure they could hear it. "Wait," Derek called after me. I froze, my hand on the elevator button. "You missed a spot," he said, pointing to a scuff mark on the floor. I nodded, went back to buff out the mark, then escaped to the elevator. As the doors closed, I could hear Talia and Derek laughing about something. 20 minutes later, I was back in my car, hands still shaking from the adrenaline. But I had everything I needed: evidence of embezzlement, insurance fraud conspiracy, and a detailed plan to destroy innocent people's lives. My phone buzzed with a text from Talia. "Conference ended early. Derek and I are grabbing dinner before I come home. Don't wait up." Even now, she couldn't resist rubbing my face in it. I drove to Coach Carmine's gym, needing to hit something before I exploded. Coach took one look at my face and pointed to the heavy bag. "Work it out," he said simply. I spent an hour punching leather, each impact releasing some of the rage and frustration I'd been carrying. When I finally stopped, my hands were raw despite the gloves, and my shirt was soaked with sweat. "Feel better?" Coach asked. "Getting there," I panted. "Good, because you look like a man who's about to do something either very smart or very stupid." I pulled out my phone and showed him some of the screenshots I'd taken. Coach whistled low. "That's some serious evidence you got there, Simon. What are you planning to do with it?" "End this," I said. "All of it. Tonight." Coach nodded slowly. "Just remember what I taught you about finishing fights. Don't just knock your opponent down. Make sure they can't get back up." By the time I got home, I had a plan that would destroy Talia, Derek, and Jenna all at once. But first, I needed to make one phone call. "Maya," I said when she answered, "how would you like to help me end this war?" "I'm listening." "Tomorrow morning, you're going to file a counter-complaint against Jenna Pike for harassment, defamation, and conspiracy. And I'm going to give you all the evidence you need to bury her." "What about Talia and Derek?" I smiled, and for the first time in days, it felt genuine. "Leave them to me. I've got something special planned for those 2. "Simon," Maya said carefully, "whatever you're thinking, don't do anything that could backfire on you." "Don't worry," I assured her. "I'm done playing defense. Time to show them what happens when you try to destroy someone who knows how to fight back." After I hung up, I sat in my living room, surrounded by printouts of evidence and feeling calmer than I had in weeks. Talia thought she was playing chess, moving pieces around the board while I scrambled to react. She was about to learn that I'd been playing a completely different game all along. Monday morning arrived with the promise of resolution. I'd spent Sunday night preparing for what Coach Carmine would have called the championship round, the fight that would determine everything. I arrived at work early, before Maya or anyone else, and sent a carefully crafted email to 3 recipients: TechFlow Industries' CEO, their head of security, and the FBI's white-collar crime division. The subject line read, "Evidence of embezzlement and insurance fraud conspiracy." The email was clinical, professional, and devastating. I laid out the evidence methodically: the fake consulting company, the fraudulent payments, the insurance fraud conspiracy, and the harassment campaign designed to silence potential witnesses. I attached financial records, email screenshots, and a detailed timeline of criminal activity. Then I sat back and waited for the explosion. Maya arrived at 8:30, looking nervous but determined. "Did you send it?" 20 minutes ago, I confirmed. "How's your counter-complaint coming?" "Filed this morning. Our legal department is very interested in Jenna Pike's activities. Turns out she's been making inquiries about other employees too, not just us." My phone rang. The caller ID showed Talia's office number. "Simon?" Talia's voice was tight with panic. "We need to talk. Now." "I'm at work, Talia. Can it wait?" "No, it cannot wait. There are FBI agents in our building. They're asking questions about Derek and me about financial irregularities. Did I what?" "Don't play dumb with me, Simon. This has your fingerprints all over it." I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the moment. "Talia, I assess insurance risks for a living. When I see evidence of fraud, I'm legally obligated to report it." "You son of a—" The line went dead. I looked at Maya, who was grinning despite herself. "Think she's figured out that her plan backfired?" Maya asked. "I think she's starting to," I said. "But we're not done yet." At noon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at Romano's restaurant. 1 hour. Come alone. J." Jenna Pike wanted to meet. Interesting. Romano's was the same upscale restaurant where Talia and Derek had been photographed together. I arrived early and chose a table with a clear view of the entrance, my phone set to record audio. Jenna arrived exactly on time, looking like a woman who'd aged 5 years overnight. Her usually perfect hair was disheveled, and there were dark circles under her eyes. "Simon," she said, sliding into the seat across from me, "we need to discuss terms." "Terms?" "For making this all go away, the FBI investigation, the harassment complaints, all of it." I almost laughed. "Jenna, you're facing federal charges for conspiracy to commit fraud. What exactly do you think you have to negotiate with?" Her composure cracked slightly. "I have information about Talia that could destroy her completely. Things that would make the embezzlement look like petty theft." "I'm listening." Jenna leaned forward, lowering her voice. "The insurance fraud was my idea, not hers. I researched your company, found the vulnerabilities, planned the whole thing. Talia was just supposed to get the inside information from you." "And in exchange for this confession, you want what?" "Immunity. A chance to testify against Derek and Talia in exchange for reduced charges." I studied her face, seeing desperation where there used to be confidence. "Why should I trust anything you say? You've been lying and manipulating people for months." "Because I'm the only one who can give you what you really want," Jenna said. "Complete victory. Total destruction of everyone who tried to destroy you." She pulled out her phone and showed me a video file. This was recorded 3 weeks ago in Talia's office. She didn't know I was recording. I watched as Talia discussed plans to eliminate the Simon problem permanently. She wasn't just talking about divorce or financial ruin. She was talking about having me arrested on false charges, possibly even staging an accident. "She's completely lost touch with reality," Jenna continued. "The affair with Derek was supposed to be temporary, just long enough to justify the divorce. But she's become obsessed with destroying you. She talks about you constantly, plans elaborate revenge scenarios, fantasizes about seeing you in prison or worse." I felt cold despite the restaurant's warm atmosphere. "What are you proposing?" "Help me get immunity, and I'll give you everything. Every plan, every scheme, every crime they've committed or considered. I'll testify that Talia was the mastermind, that she manipulated Derek and me into helping her." "And why would you betray your best friend?" Jenna's laugh was bitter. "Best friend?" "Simon, Talia threw me under the bus the moment the FBI showed up. She told them the whole fraud scheme was my idea, that she was an innocent victim of my manipulation. She's trying to save herself by destroying everyone around her." I considered the offer. Jenna was clearly desperate, but her information could be valuable. And if Talia was really planning something more serious than divorce, "I need guarantees," I said finally. "What kind of guarantees?" "Full confession, recorded testimony, and you help me set up a meeting with Talia and Derek where they'll incriminate themselves." Jenna nodded eagerly. "I can do that. Talia wants to meet with you anyway. She's convinced she can still manipulate you into dropping the charges." "When?" "Tonight. Derek's office has a conference room with a view of the river. Very dramatic, very private. She's planning to make you an offer you can't refuse." "What kind of offer?" "Intimate favors in exchange for your silence. She thinks you're still attracted to her, that she can seduce you into forgetting everything you've discovered." The audacity was breathtaking. Even facing federal charges, Talia thought she could manipulate her way out of trouble. "Set it up," I said. But Jenna, if you're lying to me, if this is another setup, I'll make sure you spend the next 20 years in federal prison. I understand, she said. Simon, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. This got way out of hand. No, I corrected. This got exactly as out of hand as you planned. You just didn't expect to get caught. That evening, I arrived at TechFlow Industries for what I hoped would be the final confrontation. The building was mostly empty, with only security guards and a few late-working employees scattered throughout. Derek's office was on the 20th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. Talia was already there when I arrived, wearing a dress that was probably supposed to be seductive, but just looked desperate. Simon, she said, standing up as I entered. Thank you for coming. Derek was there too, looking like a man facing execution. The FBI investigation had clearly shaken him badly. Talia, I said, taking a seat across from her. I hear you wanted to discuss terms. I want to discuss our marriage, she said, moving closer. Simon, I know things have gotten complicated, but we can work through this. Complicated? I laughed. Talia, you've been embezzling money, planning insurance fraud, and trying to frame me for crimes I didn't commit. That's not complicated. That's criminal. Derek shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Simon, maybe we can reach some kind of understanding. Shut up, Derek, Talia snapped, her mask slipping. This is between my husband and me? She turned back to me, forcing a smile. Simon, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But think about what you're doing. If this goes to trial, it'll destroy both of us. Our reputations, our careers, everything we've built together. We didn't build anything together, I said quietly. You built a lie, and I was stupid enough to believe it. Talia's composure cracked further. Fine. You want to play hardball? I can play hardball too. You think your evidence is so damning? I have evidence too. Evidence of your affair with Maya, evidence of your violent behavior, evidence that you've been stalking and harassing me for months. All fabricated, I pointed out. Prove it, she challenged. In court with a jury, it'll be my word against yours. And I'm very convincing when I need to be. Derek finally found his voice. Talia, maybe we should just... Should what? She whirled on him. Give up? Let him destroy us? Derek, you're facing 10 years in federal prison. Do you really want to go down without a fight? I don't want to go down at all, Derek snapped back. This whole thing was your idea. The affair, the money, the frame-up, all of it. Talia's eyes flashed dangerously. My idea? You were the one who suggested we could make some easy money on the side? You were the one who said we needed to get rid of Simon permanently. I never said permanently. You said whatever it took to get him out of the picture. I watched them turn on each other, recording every word on my phone. They were destroying themselves more thoroughly than I ever could have. Enough, I said finally, standing up. This is over. Talia grabbed my arm as I headed for the door. Simon, wait, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can start over, just you and me. I looked down at her hand on my arm, then into her eyes. For just a moment, I saw a flicker of the woman I'd fallen in love with 5 years ago. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by the calculating predator she'd become. Talia, I said gently. It was over the moment you decided I was expendable. I pulled free and walked toward the elevator, leaving them to face the consequences of their choices. As the elevator descended, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. The war was over, and I'd won. Not through violence or revenge, but through patience, evidence, and letting my enemies destroy themselves. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. FBI arrested Jenna an hour ago. She's cooperating fully. It's really over, Simon. The elevator reached the ground floor, and I walked out into the cool evening air. Tomorrow there would be lawyers and court proceedings and all the tedious business of cleaning up the mess Talia had made. But tonight, I was free. I drove to Coach Carmine's gym, where the old man was closing up for the evening. How'd it go? He asked. Like you taught me, I said. I let them knock themselves out. Coach grinned and handed me a beer from his office refrigerator. To victory, he said, raising his bottle. To survival, I corrected, clinking my bottle against his. 6 months later, I was sitting in a federal courthouse watching Talia, Derek, and Jenna receive their sentences. Embezzlement, conspiracy to commit fraud, harassment, and a dozen other charges that would keep them busy for the next several years. Talia looked over at me as the bailiff led her away, her eyes filled with the kind of rage that burns everything it touches. Even now, facing 5 years in federal prison, she blamed me for her downfall. Some people never learn. Maya and I had been cleared of all harassment charges, and our careers had not only survived but flourished. The FBI investigation had revealed that we were victims, not perpetrators, and our companies had gone out of their way to support us. As for my friends, Rick and Tom had apologized profusely and remained close allies. Jennifer had struggled more with accepting that she'd been wrong about Talia, but eventually came around. I walked out of the courthouse into bright sunshine, feeling like a man who'd survived a war. The battle had cost me my marriage, but it had also taught me something valuable about myself. I was stronger than I'd realized, smarter than my enemies had assumed, and absolutely unwilling to be anyone's victim. My phone rang as I reached my car, a new car, paid for with the settlement money TechFlow had given me for the harassment I'd endured. "Simon Fowler," I answered. "Mr. Fowler, this is Janet Morrison from Global Risk Assessment. We have a position that might interest you, senior partner, international division. Are you available to discuss terms?" I looked back at the courthouse where my former wife was beginning her new life as a federal prisoner, then at the city skyline where my real life was waiting to begin. "I'm available," I said. As I drove away, I thought about something Coach Carmine had told me during those dark days when everything seemed lost. The best revenge isn't getting even. It's living well while your enemies destroy themselves. He was right, as usual. Talia had wanted to cast me as the villain in her story, but she'd forgotten one crucial detail. Villains don't always lose. Sometimes they're just heroes who've been pushed too far, and sometimes the real villains are the ones who think they're the heroes.